How do you stop your Staffordshire Bull Terrier from jumping up you every time you come into the home, or even worse, jumping up strangers or other people every time that they meet them? Well, that's exactly what we're going to help you with in this video. Welcome back to the Fenrir Staffy Show. If you are new here, my name's Will. I'm a canine behaviourist and I'm the founder and CEO of FenrirCanineLeaders.com. This channel is dedicated to helping you learn everything you could possibly ever want to know about the incredible Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and then how to become high-level canine leaders that can raise perfect Staffy companions. So if you love Staffies, you're thinking about getting your first Staffordshire Bull Terrier, or you've been a lifetime owner of Staffies, and I promise you there's going to be things here on this channel that you're going to enjoy. So make sure you subscribe. Now, without all of that out of the way, and without further ado, let's dive into today's Q&A, this week's Q&A. And I've been going through my emails, and one's jumped out to me about Staffies, so I thought I'd film it and put it on the Fenrir Staffy Show. And that is something that I've noticed is becoming quite a common theme with Staffies. Now, I live in Staffordshire, so as a professional canine behaviourist, and when I used to do more dog training stuff, I've had the privilege of working with countless amounts of Staffies and proper original OG Staffordshire Staffies. So it's something that's very close to my heart, and it's something I've got a lot of experience with. And I've noticed that a very common theme and trend with Staffies and problem behaviours with Staffies is around overexcitement, and then oftentimes jumping up and them not necessarily knowing their own strength, and it accidentally causing harm to young children or elderly people. That's something that I've got a lot of experience with helping people to overcome and to achieve. So that's what we're going to really talk about and delve into with Staffies. Now, before we do that, I want to kind of discuss that I don't think that it's a behaviour that is more likely to occur because of the Staffy. I don't think it's an issue with the breed whatsoever. I think that all breeds are prone to this, and I think Staffies have that kind of fine line between being small enough to sometimes, especially when they're puppies, allow them to get away with it, and not big enough like a Mastiff breed or maybe an American Staffordshire Bull Terrier, where everybody is aware that it's a really severe problem. And because they sit in that grey area, oftentimes they're allowed to get away with it for too long, especially when they're young. But then when they are fully grown, they're big enough for it to be a potential issue, or at the very least, it just to be a very frustrating, obnoxious and annoying behaviour. So we kind of need to discuss this on two fronts when we're talking about the Staffy. First and foremost, and it's the approach that I always try and help people with, is to get it right the first time round. Now, don't worry if you're too late for that and you've already got this as an established negative behaviour. We're going to talk about that after. But first of all, I want to make you understand that if you're watching this video because you're just getting a Staffy and you're preparing and you're soaking up as much information as possible, then congratulations, that's fantastic, and I really applaud that mindset. It's going to set you up for success massively. So what we need to make sure that we're doing is ensuring that we are never accidentally rewarding our Staffy for jumping up, and that can come into the form of many things, and it's very difficult when you've got an 8 to 10 week adorable little Staffy puppy and it's clambering up your shin because it's crying and it wants a cuddle, and we bend down and pick it up and it's okay buddy, it's okay, don't worry. All we've done there is we've reinforced the behaviour that if you climb up, if you jump up, I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to give you praise. Something we talk about a lot in my Perfect Puppy course around manners. I think manners are as important as socialisation and obedience. And what we want to do is when we're raising our puppies is we want to very quickly teach them a really rock solid sit and stay. And then we want to utilise sit and stay in a calm, quiet, well-mannered approach for access to everything that's good in that dog's life. If you take that approach from day one, rather than having a dog that obnoxiously jumps up all the time to get what it wants, to get attention, to initiate play, you'll find that you have a dog that will sit down quietly, calmly, and look up to you for guidance and direction to gain access to all the positive things. They're two very different approaches. Obviously, one is a beautiful, obedient, well-mannered dog. One is a very frustrating, obnoxious, annoying, and potentially dangerous dog. So if you're at the lucky stage where you're just getting a dog, I recommend, again, it's in my Perfect Puppy course, which is linked down in the description. But whenever you give the dog food, we do a sit and a stay, and we put the food down and we tell them to stay until we let them break to access the food. If you want them to come up on the sofa, it's absolutely fine. I have my dogs cuddle on the sofa with us all the time. But before they come up on the sofa, they'll come and they'll sit and stay. And if I want them to sit and stay for half an hour, then they'll do that until I welcome them up onto the sofa. If they want to come and get some fuss from me, they'll sit and stay and wait quietly until I'm ready to give them some fuss. And that's the approach that we need to have. It's not punitive, it's not physically aggressive or hurting the dog in any way. It's just about being a calm, consistent leader that always, 100% of the time, with that consistency, enforces good boundaries, good rules, and good manners. And that's the approach that I think is the best way to solve this from ever happening in the first place, as well as such a wide amount of common problem behaviors. Now, let's move on to if you are actually having this problem already. Now, there's a two-stage approach that I utilize to fix problem behaviors like jumping up. The first thing is that we need to restructure the relationship with the dog and have the dog ensure that it knows that we are its calm, consistent leader. That is a longer process, and I utilize my boot camp protocol for doing that. And it's a kind of a 1-month protocol that allows us to restructure that relationship and have the dog understand that it must look to us for guidance and direction. That's the overarching fix that gets right down to the root cause of the problem, but because it goes so deep, it is a longer process. And what a lot of people want is a very quick fix. We do both things at the same time. I'm reluctant to ever come in and offer a client of mine a quick fix, because often that's just a plaster on the symptom. What I like to do is do both. So we'll do the boot camp because that fixes it at the root cause. And then I'm going to give you the quick fix whilst you work on those things that allows us to solve the solution and problem quickly. So to do that, I use a method called correct, redirect, reinforce. Now that correction oftentimes gets people up in a bit of a panic, especially around this new age approach of positive only training. And that correction can fit in various different levels, starting from simply a verbal correction all the way to, yes, it can include a physical correction. And in certain cases, if it stops the dog being harmful or threatening and causing any damage to themselves, other dogs or other people, then I believe that utilizing a physical correction isn't harsh, isn't punitive, and actually it's the best thing for the dog to keep themselves and other people safe. But we'll always start with the least amount of correction possible and build up, and then hopefully we scale it back down to the minimum amount of correction as required, ideally none, once that boot camp process has taken shape, and that hopefully that you start to see why we do both things. So correct, redirect, reinforce. So that correction, starting with a verbal correction, the dog jumps up, we go in with a very firm no or very stern, shoulders back, and we don't want to overutilize these things. You don't want to be one of those parents that's constantly screaming and flapping and chasing their children. We're calm, consistent all the time, and when the dog displays that behavior, we can go in with a sharp verbal correction, which makes them, you get that, whoa, what's going on? We hit them with that verbal correction really quickly to snap their attention out of that bad behavior. Then we very quickly redirect them. Whilst we've snapped them out of the bad behavior and got them, what's going on? We redirect them to the correct behavior, which in terms of jumping up is to sit and stay. So go, no, we hit the verbal correction really sharp, really stern, shoulders back as a good, strong leader. Then we put them into a sit and a stay. So we've corrected them, we've redirected them to the desired behavior, which is sit and stay. We let them go into that sit and stay, and then we go back to positive reinforcement and we reinforce it. So we correct, we redirect, we reinforce. Now for extreme cases with extremely large, powerful dogs, potentially say there is young children involved or there's elderly people, that if we don't fix this issue very quickly, is either going to hurt the child or elderly person, or is going to result in the dog going to a shelter, and then often unfortunately put down, we might then utilize a more physical approach of correction to be able to achieve this much quicker. Now, I do think you can do it with verbal, but it will take a little bit longer. But if you want to achieve it quickly to help save the dog's life, save it from going to a shelter, or save somebody in the dog's life from getting hurt, then we can utilize something like a quick correction pop on a collar. We can utilize many different correction collar tools, but it would be the second the dog jumps up, a quick pop on the lead. We're not hurt, but a quick pop with the verbal correction. We link the two things together. We then redirect into the sit and stay, and then we reinforce that very quickly. Eventually, we'll be able to remove the physical correction and be left with the verbal correction, which will be more than enough. So then brilliant, we've got rid of the physical. We redirect to the sit and stay, and then we go back into the positive reinforcement world and we praise and we reinforce the desired behavior. If you're consistent with that approach, you will very quickly find that rather than offering the obnoxious, bad behavior of jumping up, which every time they do gets them corrected, either verbally or physically, you'll find that they'll actively seek to go into a sit and stay because they know that that gets them the desired response that they're looking for. And as long as we are then reinforcing that and positively praising that, we then get to fit in that positive reinforcement world that I do love so much. But without that ability to correct bad behaviors, oftentimes these bad behaviors slip in. So we need to have a balanced approach of being able to use positive reinforcement, say, yes, I do like what you're doing, but then have some tools in the toolbox to be able to correct our dog, to be able to say, no, don't do that. And in the case of jumping up, that's what we need to do. We correct them, we redirect them, and we reinforce. If we're consistent with that approach, the correction will slowly fade away because they'll offer the desired behavior first. And then we just need to make sure that straight away we reinforce and praise that and make it worth their while. And then they'll offer us that behavior more and more. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, but the most important word in this whole equation is consistency. So if you want your Staffy to stop jumping up, be a calm, consistent leader, correct, redirect, and reinforce, and you will have a lot of success. I hope you found that useful. If you've got any other Staffy related questions whatsoever, from training, behavior, psychology, puppy development, anything at all, leave them down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you are new here so that you never miss a future episode of the Fenrir Staffy Show. So we have 2 Staffy specific videos coming here every single week, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.